always feel like somebody. Hey, yeah, Richard. It's Bronze of Modern Gods. I'm John.
I'm Richard.
Happy Halloween week, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Tomorrow's Halloween. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze of Modern Gods. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe. Blip, 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 blip. We've got all the usual stuff this week. It's not a big week in terms of comic book news, has it?
No, it's been quiet.
But we have lots of comic talk for you with some viewer mail, underrated books of the week, and we've got our hot book of the week, literally Nova hot. Get it? It's Fantastic Four, number 244. Richard, you have a soft spot in your cold, dead heart for this one, do you not?
I do. I love John Byrne stuff, especially his Fantastic Four run. In this book, Frankie Ray becomes the new Nova, new Herald of Galactus. Galactus comes close to death over and over at the hands of Reed Richards. It's hilarious. It's like kryptonite to him.
Well, Reed Richards saves Galactus in this storyline. Remember,
Right.
He's a hungry guy. He has to keep eating. Lots of rumors going around this week that the upcoming Fantastic Four movie would feature a female herald. I don't know how I feel about these rumors.
Mhm.
Why, if you are working on this movie, would you leak that piece of information?
Yeah, why would you start with any other herald than Silver Surfer? It doesn't make any sense to me. You lead with with the first string. Later on, you can expand upon the topic of herald and do people like Frankie Ray, but not right out of the gate.
Unsourced rumors credited to clickbait sites. Since when has that ever stopped a speculator, Richard?
Not a single time.
High grade copies of Fantastic Four 244 are selling on eBay for 10 to 40 bucks. The 90-day GPA average for a CGC 9.8 is $328, which is actually down a bit. But the good news with this speculation, it's actually a good read. This is a fantastic run. Get it? Wink, wink.
It is. It's one of Byrne's best work, I think. If you haven't read it, please go out and pick it up.
I don't know. Best Fantastic Four run outside of Lee and Kirby.
Yeah, I would say so.
I can't think of another run that comes close. Maybe Walt Simonson's run when he was writing it.
Maybe.
What do you guys think? What is your favorite Fantastic Four run that is not Lee and Kirby? I'm sure everyone's going to hit the comments and go, burn, 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 burn. Richard, you had a milestone this past weekend. You set up for your very first comic book convention as a dealer.
I did. I got to see the other side of the of the table. Forrest and I went to the Lorraine County ComicCon and set up a table. It was just a small little 6 foot, 8 foot table, however long it is. I brought a number of short boxes and I bought some slabs. Mainly, I brought $5 books. Just trying to blow stuff out. I did bring some, 10 to $70 books as well, but most of them were $5 books. And I brought some wall books too, just to kind of put them up there and trying to draw attention and conversation. So it was a good show.
Yeah. Anybody come by and say hi from the viewership or?
Yeah, I had a couple people who recognized me and were, I had a couple people come up and said they hadn't heard about the show until we talked about it last week.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was nice. It was everyone was friendly. All the dealers were extra super friendly. There weren't that a lot. There's a total of 8 or 9 dealers. It was not a huge show. This show is put on in a community center in a small town.
Yeah.
And the venue was free. All you had to do was donate some foodstuffs to the pantry, and you were able to set up a table. So we got the last table that was available, set up in the corner, and just had the books out, and we're talking to people as they're passing by.
Did you buy anything?
I was good. I was there to sell. It seemed to be counterproductive to be trying to get rid of books at the same time I'm picking them up.
We can't help ourselves, though.
I know. I looked at some books. There was a gentleman who was selling a Golden Record reprint, Fantastic Four #1 that Forrest and I were both kind of eyeing. It was signed by Stan Lee. It was a 6.0. I don't have any Stan Lee books, and if I was going to get a signed Stan Lee book, Fantastic Four #1 is probably high on my list, even as a Golden Record reprint. But he wanted $3,500 for it, which is a little bit more than I thought I would be willing to pay.
Yellow label slab.
Yep,
Wow.
yep, 6.0, label.
Was it legible Stanley or Stanley the final years watch?
Yeah, Forrest and I debated that too. It was a legible one. It looked like something that was he was in his faculties at
Okay.
the time he did the signature, which is something you got to be concerned about because you don't want to profit off of some man's you know misfortune. But
Yeah.
I it looked legible to me, and that wasn't a concern. More about the price. I $3,500 for a 6.0 when I already have a 9.6. It's not signed though.
Yeah.
um, it makes it difficult for me to just pull that trigger on a random purchase. It was really one of those targets of opportunities. There are a lot of targets of opportunities. People had, the dealers had books up on the wall. There was a lot of variety. The problem is, and I talked to a number of dealers, and we saw ourselves. Forrest only sold three, maybe four raw books off the wall. I didn't sell anything. I had a number of books up there. I had them priced really, really well too. I had a Wolverine #1. I had priced for the 9.8 for I think it was 600 or 550. I can't remember, which is 150 under what the GPA currently is. And I would have dealt, and if somebody had made an offer, I would have considered it, but no one said anything. I had no people come up and making offers to me the entire night. They were buying out of the bins. Had a number of people buying a number of $5 books, and some people are buying $10, $15 books. I had one person buy a $75 book. That was the top that I sold, but that was it. There were no big books being sold that I saw. Now, this is a small show, so I can understand that, but I didn't see any real interest in any big books. I had Transformers #1 up on the wall that I was trying to sell, a 9.8. And the people were looking at it and saying ooh ah, but no one wanted me to pull it off the wall. So
Yeah. From the footage we're looking at here, it looks like it was more of a I don't know. I call them civilian shows, where it's not really hardcore comic collectors that spend hundreds and thousands of dollars. It's more like bring the kids, let them dig through the dollar bins. Did you get that vibe?
yeah, it definitely was a smaller town. You know, I've been in the area at shows for the past 3 or 4 years, 4 or 5 years now, boy. And you get to know the people who are the serious dealers. We've got people like Nico, who's out there hunting. And so when you see him, then there's deals being made.
Yeah.
No one like that I saw at the show. It was a lot of kids. By kids I mean people in their 20s. But there were also a lot of older people showing up, and they had their list. There was a lovely couple, a man and his wife, who were they both had lists going through his list of books, what he was looking for, and they were specifically looking for certain issues. And there was people like that, but I didn't see anybody who was I would consider a speculator or someone who was looking at the big picture in terms of comic purchases.
So what do you think? You going to do it again?
Well, all told, I cleared about $620-ish, which was not bad for an afternoon. We were there from 10 to 5. Got to talk to a lot of dealer friends that I've made over the years. Like Big Al and Chuck and Eric from Comics Are Go, and a lot of there's a lot of that social aspect of it which I really enjoyed. They were all teasing me about being I'm one of them now, being behind the counter. But I would do it again. I would probably do a bigger venue. This was a nice
Yeah.
first run.
Dip your toe in, get,
Right, right.
learn how to look for shoplifters.
I didn't feel that stress, but yeah, I could definitely see that. Um, Dealing with money was interesting. It was interesting. Certain people were talking about how some of the dealers just didn't deal with digital. It was either cash or nothing. Um, I was the opposite. If you can transfer any form of currency to my form
Yeah,
of currency, I'm happy. I got Venmo, PayPal, Cash
right.
App. You know,
Physical money is disgusting. What year is this?
yeah, yeah. I understand some people are reluctant. There's transactional fees that are involved in dealing with digital money. That is the case. But the simple fact that I don't have to walk around with a big wad of money,
Right.
leaving a show because it's all, digitally transferred to me. That's a huge plus. And it just is a cleaner way of doing transactions. I brought cash, and I had some people who were dealing cash, and that's fine. But a lot of people were willing to, or had preferred to deal with digital money because they didn't want to carry dirty paper around with them.
No, I'm with them. Well, cool. Excellent. Good to hear. Thanks for grabbing the footage.
Hmm.
All right. Well, since you didn't spend any money at this show, Richard, you still have some show and tell, though, right?
I do. I do.
All right. Let's get to it. Show and tell. I have a little bit of a theme this week since we've been talking about it so much. True crime and horror. How's
Wow.
that? I've been still organizing, still digging in the collection. Let's start with some Simon and Kirby goodness. Headline Comics number 45 from the 40s. Look, the cop is stopping these mobsters from picking on the poor blind hobo.
Wow. Bro, he can't get more charged than that.
Look at this Kirby, the exaggeration of the cop, how skinny
Mhm.
and gangly he is. That's, that Kirby style of that late 40s, early 50s when he was doing that. There's a book called The Black Rider where he
Mhm.
drew the whole thing in kind of this style as well. So just a very cool, really nice, I would say, 7.0 ish
Yeah,
without,
nice colors on it.
well, you got a rusted staple there. But
And the book is from the 40s. It's kind of
yeah,
hard not. Yeah, yeah.
what are you going to do? What's your first show and tell?
This is a stupid cheap book. This is Wolverine number 50. I picked this book up. You see the $5 sticker on it. It's inexpensive, but I love it. For those who don't know, the cover is die cut, so the claws are actually in the cut out of the cover, and you can see the first page through there. This back in the '90s, that gimmick was overplayed, but I really like this book. This is a great book, and you can pick it up cheap. And you talk about, it's not necessarily a key, but it is a very recognizable book. And for $5, I pick it up. You never know. I could sell it for $10 maybe in a couple of years.
If you're going to do a die cut cover, that's like the character to do it with.
Right.
That's
Right.
where it makes sense.
Right.
Outside of the Marvel UK character who was actually named Die Cut. My next piece of show and tell is actually a twofer. I have two copies of different issues of Justice Traps the Guilty. More,
Oh,
more Simon and Kirby true crime. This is number 28. Yes, number 28. In this one, you've got a cop, but cops doing something. Let's see. Yeah, they're counterfeiters. See?
are they? And the counterfeiters, they attacking innocent children or something?
No, they're counterfeiting dollar bills.
Lots of. Is that cop punching him?
Yeah. Hey, look, it's the 40s, man. We handled things differently. That's why things were better in those days. Justice Traps the Guilty, number 34. I don't believe this is a Kirby cover. I think this is Mort Meskin or someone else.
Okay.
But there's a
Oh,
lot.
there's an airplane flying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a whole story going on here. I don't even know what's happening. There's a bunch of people getting on a plane and a cop is coming after them. How far do you think you'll get, Prentice, with the air police of 4 countries looking for you? Your $1 million medicine smuggling racket is smashed.
Okay. See. I love word bubbles on covers. We don't do that anymore,
Very high,
which I think is a shame.
very high concept cover.
Yeah.
Requires a lot of reading. So these are obviously not an Image Comics book.
No.
What do you got?
Next one is another book that I always pick up. I found this one just recently. It's Planet Comics #1. This is the Dave Stevens cover. You've got two beautiful women on a rocket motorcycle, it looks like. This just a gorgeous cover. I love this cover. You can still find this reasonable. I think I paid $80 for this one.
Hmm?
Um, and it's a beautiful Dave Stevens cover. It's highly sought after. So, resale is never an issue. But I just collect these. I mean, I have a number of these at this point. I don't have any graded anymore. I used to have a 9.6 graded. Um, I don't really feel the need to get them graded right now. That's another conversation that
I'm
we should
with you.
have. But yeah, so this is a beautiful. I don't know if you haven't seen Dave Stevens. He has a very distinctive art style, very pinup girl art style, and unfortunately, he passed before his time. So a lot of his books are treasured, and the artwork that he has put out there is something that people find value in.
What grade do you think that is?
This one is probably a 9.2.
Yeah.
Um, sharp corners, but there's a couple flaws here that
Uh,
keep it from being anything higher than that.
all right. Oh, what's your next one since you're on a roll? You go ahead.
Next one I've got another book I picked. I picked this one up at in Baltimore. Usagi Yojimbo Color Special it's #1. It's just a great book. Um, these early Usagi books are hard to find in high grade. You've got Usagi Yojimbo on the cover, and he's about to open a door full of ninjas,
Mm.
which the ninjas really just did not like Usagi.
Whoopsie.
This book is easily a 9.6, 9.8, which is why I picked it up. And the dealer that I got it from had a ton of really high grade books, and I couldn't pass this one up, and a number of other high grade books that we both picked up
Yeah.
at that show.
I think we were pawing through that guy, if I'm remembering the right. We were pawing through his boxes. Halloween is here, so I picked this especially for the holiday. It is Supernatural Thrillers #5, 9.0, off white to white pages. First appearance of the living mummy. Marvel was in Bronze Age horror mode. They'd done Dracula. They did their Frankenstein. They did a werewolf. Now it was time for the mummy. Written by Steve Gerber, one who
Oh,
we talk
okay.
about a lot on this
Mhm.
show, and just a fantastic cover. You've got the mummy. You've got a poor helpless female. I believe it's Rich Buckler and John Romita. No, George Tuska and John Romita.
Oh, okay.
No. Um, yeah, I thought it was going to be more than a 9.0, but what are you going to
Really?
do?
What
Yeah.
what held it back?
Yeah, finger bends, light finger bends to cover, fingerprints on the.
Mm,
I'm being somewhat facetious. Uh, Go ahead. What's your next one?
my last book is a book that I've been waiting on for a while now. Hot Press Comics out of Australia um, had this available. Asked me if I was interested in it. I said absolutely. So he sent it all the way from Australia. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It is Amazing Spider-Man #5.
Wow.
This is the Newton variant, Newton Comics. This was published in Australia, and it is a reprint of Fantastic Four #5 with Doctor Doom and Spider-Man on the cover. Just a great book. I love these Newton books, and I would
Does it have
love.
new rings?
No, it is not. No Newton rings. But it's an I didn't realize it's an odd shaped book. It doesn't fit in a normal bag. This is a magazine style bag that it's in right now. So I'm going to try to rebag it in a golden age bag to see if it fits there. But it's got the poster. These things came with the poster, and it has the poster in it. So they did these books for a number of Marvel books, back in the day. There is a Fantastic Four #5 issue that they did that's floating around out there. I would love to have, so I'm keeping an eye out for that. You just don't see him very often. You just don't see him show up on eBay very often, which
What year
is
was that, do you think? 70s?
yeah. I was thinking mid '70s.
Mhm.
And it's really really sharp book. I mean, the condition is really really high. Um, I am so stoked about it. I'm going to press and clean it and set it. There's a little bit of little spine damage here,
Yeah.
but still, it's a gorgeous. The colors are amazing, and thank you again for making that book available. I really appreciate
Is Spider-Man popular in Australia? I guess because of the spiders.
it. Well, the spiders in Australia just kill you with one bite.
By the way, a reminder to our Australian fans down there: please work on those plane tickets. For that, it would not be show and tell without the Doll Man bondage cover of the week. This,
Okay. Oh man. Okay.
yeah,
Dollman is tied up on the table, and a guy in an iron mask is about to pistol whip him.
but
With
it's
the
the
butt of
most
a pistol.
important thing about this one. It's DC wanted the world's most dangerous villains, number 5. It's not a quality comics from the 40s. It is DC reprinting an old Dollman story, but even DC in the 70s knew what side Dollman fan base's bread was butter.
Oh. Now
See,
in this comic, is he tied up?
you know,
What's the
I have to look. I haven't looked in
Okay.
this one. I can tell you just from in general, he's never tied up.
Mhm.
But in this,
Covers sell you a bill of goods.
yeah. But what's great is that Nick Cardy drew this cover, and even Nick Cardy was like, if I gotta draw a Doll Man cover, better have him trussed up like a pig.
Yep.
So there you go, folks. Even DC knew what that fan base wanted. We know what you want. It's called Viewer Mail.
You've got mail.
Let me start with first piece of viewer mail from our mailbox at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com. Comes to us from Comic Book Scavenger. Hello, John and Richard. First, I want to thank you for all the amazing content and useful knowledge you give us, the comic book lovers. You are such amazing guys. Love your friendship and chemistry. And I must say, it warms my heart when John's eyes light up talking about shops or places in Ohio, or Richard talks about watching cartoons or childhood memories. You are awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Second, I have some questions. I'm a comic book reader and collector. The order of the words are important. From Spain. Oh, wow. Thank you. I'm back in the hobby after some years, and I'm amazed by the stock market culture in comic books. I see a lot of people talking about the money side of the hobby, but not the stories or their enjoyment of them. Every comic book has variant covers, foil covers, things like that skyrocket in price, and I feel the market is saturated, or at least it must be saturated, but it stays clogged up. Didn't we learn anything about the 90s downfall? Do you think the variant craze is going strong, or will common sense take control? Well, Comic Book Scavenger, first of all, thanks for writing to us all the way from Spain.
Thank you.
You must be familiar with Wacom, the most popular comic book collecting app based in Barcelona. And one thing I've known from dealing with Wacom and the people there, it is a very different culture in Spain when it comes to comic book collecting. They are readers. We are readers. Richard and I like to dip into the stock market culture and variant covers now and then. It's fun. But yeah, there is a difference. I do think it's an entirely new generation of people who have really fallen for the same things that we learned in the 90s. And despite, it's like your parents, they tried to tell you when you were growing up, don't do this, don't do that. And you were like, no, I'm going to be different. I'm going to learn for myself. And oftentimes you did, whether you liked it or not. Yeah. I do feel for you. I think there was a second part of your email where you encouraged us, as opposed to having a hot book of the week or an underrated book of the week, to have a segment of a book that you should read.
Mhm.
I think we do that with underrated books. The underrated book of the week sometimes is about something that's undervalued, but a lot of the times, especially lately, we've been focusing on underrated books that don't get the attention and love, like Mage or Crossfire or Zot or things like that, for my examples. But you do bring a good point. You guys tell us, do we need a hot book of the week anymore on this show? Is that a segment that anyone cares about, that anyone wants? I open it to the floor.
Yeah, it's a very good question. There are other shows that focus on the numerical aspect of the collecting hobby. This book is number one sales, this book is number one dollar value increase. And that's great. There's an audience for that, and there's a followers for that. I am a follower of that. But this show isn't really that much about the numbers. We are more about the books as pieces of culture, I think.
Yeah. You guys
So
tell us.
yeah, let us know. Let us know what you feel. And yes, you ask whether or not current generation is learning about variant covers and things like that. I think the culture in comic books now has been influenced by outside forces, people who are collecting because they see a potential profit, and that has driven up the prices significantly. I mean, the pandemic and the extra money people had on hand accounted for that. I think those people who were speculating and who were investing in it as a profit center, I think they're less interested in that now that the MCU is not driving prices up like the way it was for a number of years.
Mhm.
And so I think the prices are settling down. Marvel and DC, though, they saw fat cows, and they printed 80 different copies. Or Detective Comics 1000 had 80 covers. Spider-Man 900 had 80 covers.
Collect them
They
all.
collect them all. They're trying to appease or appeal to those people who were speculating on that. And as long as people continue to buy enough of those covers to make it viable for Marvel and DC, they'll continue to do it.
Yep.
So I think we need to vote with our wallets if that's not something that we want to see.
Before we get to your first piece of viewer mail, I have something very important.
Mhm.
Is that Tinkerballs I hear in the background playing?
Yes, Tinker Balls is laying on the couch, or on the here.
He's not within grabbing.
No, he's not. He's
All right. Hey, I tried, people. I tried to get you. All right. What's your first piece of viewer mail?
My first piece of email is from a YouTube commenter, Lee Erin 3706.
Lee Nearon. He's a friend of the show.
Hey guys, great show as always. Thank you. So, Richard, I understand from the episode that you will be setting up a small comic book show to unload some books. I too am preparing to sell at a local show here in New Jersey. I have a question which I am vacillating back and forth over. Should I separate my books by price, for example, $1 boxes, $2 boxes, $3 boxes? Um, why should I sell them by title and keep all the Spider-Man together, all the Alpha Flight together, all the X-Men together, etc.? I'm not sure which way is better to go and could use some advice. Thank you so much, and good luck when you set up. Yeah, thank you. It's funny, John and I were talking about this
This is
before.
conversation.
um, because when you're selling dollar books, it depends on the audience. If the audience are a bunch of people who um, John calls them civilians. People, you come with your kids. You're at the show for the kids, and the kids want to see the Funkos, and you're walking by and you see the comics, and it's you're not driven by this comic book culture that we just talked about. Um, it helps facilitate you looking at books if at the front of the box it says Batman, and Batman, all books $1, and or Spider-Man, all books $1, and you have a little picture of Batman or Spider-Man, or because those characters are the characters that are the prevailing characters in the media right now. So you get a lot of walk through traffic. You get a lot of parents with kids. Kids will see Spider-Man's picture and will point, and the parents will see the books are only $1, so they'll buy a few books for the kids. So there's a lot of incentive to grouping the books in an easy to digest way for the audience in that case, because they want Spider-Man. They don't necessarily care what Spider-Man book it is. If you're buying books for your kids, it's pretty safe bet that you can give them a Spider-Man book. Um, the alternative is having all the books here's just a random book of a dollar comics, and people will rifle through that. But it may not be as appealing to those casual people who are walking by that you may be wanting to draw their attention. So it depends on the audience. If it's that casual stuff, you may benefit from doing them that way. Me, what I did none of my examples that I'm talking here. I had a whole I had 3 boxes that were just green stickers. I put green stickers on the back of my books to identify them as mine because I'm sharing a booth with another person. So any book that had a green sticker on the back was $5. Then I had a special box that had numbers written in that green circle to indicate the price. They're $10, $20, whatever. And I had them that way, and that's kind of how I had them laid out. And I had one box of slabs, all inexpensive slabs. I mean, down to like $35. And people picked through those, and they saw things they liked, they bought them. But I think it could have been more effective if we did organize them in that way that I was talking about, and having the individual character, a whole box of books related to that character.
I'm just me. I'm not you guys. Here's how I go through boxes when I'm at a show as a buyer. The more granular you have things separated out, the more likely I am to go through your boxes and look through stuff. So if you have war in one big section, I'm going to go to the war section, and then I'm going to go over to the teen section and look for my Patsy Walkers and my Millies and whatever. It's even better if it's Golden Age War. Oh, now we're really talking. Okay, I'm going to go there. Where I get stuck, and it's kind of like going to Amoeba Records here in LA, the world's largest record store. You go in, and it's A through Z. I don't even know where to start. Do I go to the D's for Doll Man? But if you have Doll Man bondage covers separate, it's going to make it a lot easier.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's all about reducing friction, right? So the easier it is for people to find something, the more likely they'll find it, and the more likely they'll buy it.
From our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com, from Sean Schreiner, he writes, "Hello, John and Richard." Hello, Sean.
Hey.
Thank you for always putting out such entertaining episodes. I always look forward to watching them each week. I have a friend who has self-published a comic. He put out the first 4 issues of 6, and then the pandemic hit, and he didn't get the last 2 out because of money getting tight. He just recently ran a successfully funded Kickstarter campaign to finish out the series and put it all into a trade paperback. I would love to get him a graded first issue of his book as a congratulations present for when his trade releases. It's not going to be a surprise if he watches this show, Sean. I think that would be a really cool keepsake, and that brings me to my question. Do you know if CGC grades self-published comics? I haven't been able to find any information on that topic. Thank you, and keep being awesome, Sean S. Thank you, Sean. You keep being awesome, too. We can't help it. The answer to your question is, that is a great question.
It is a great question, yeah.
Right?
I guess what does it count to be published? Because I've seen Kickstarter books that CGC does grade. I have, for example, there's a unicorn book. I can't remember the name of it. That was self-published. That is gradable. So, but I don't know the specifics.
It defines self-published too, because you've got the great Power Comics company who reprints really vanity press books from the 80s that were done by kids in their basement, and then somehow they got enough money to publish something. They'll grade those, they'll slab those. I would venture to say yes. You guys in the comments, tell me what you think. I think the easiest way, Sean, is for you to call 1-888-NM Comic. I believe that's the phone number to CGC. Don't quote me. Go to their site and ask customer service. I'm sure they will be completely confused by the question.
Also, when you go to grade a book, you type in the title of the book, and if it's in the database, it will show up.
But you can add things to the database too.
You can, yes. If your book is not a part of the catalog, you can add the data. You can add it to the database. But I'm with John. I would call and ask and find out ahead of time what the story is, what's their criteria for grading the book. I mean,
Yeah.
it's ultimately they're there to determine the condition
Right.
and verify that it's a genuine book. So it's really up to them to determine what those criteria are.
I can't imagine you waving a couple of 20s in their faces and them saying no.
Yeah,
Uh,
companies don't make money by turning money down.
that's your next piece of your mail.
My next piece is from a fellow YouTuber, Craze Collector. Graphic novels are the same as comics. It's just a more fancier name for adults who think they are too old reading and naming it comics. Um, and this we talked a bit about graphic novels last week, and I kind of agree with you. Graphic novels are just another form of comic, but I think they're more long form. I think the if a writer goes in knowing that his particular story is going to be in a graphic novel, he doesn't have to limit it to a 32-page story. So he may take more time to develop it and expand upon things that you wouldn't necessarily do in a normal comic. So while it is just a comic in the standpoint, it's a story with panels. I think that stories that are written for graphic novels are I think more have more depth to them. Yeah, I mean, it gives Jim Starlin to do something like the Death of Captain Marvel. You have a longer format to work with.
There you go. My next piece of viewer mail is from Mark LaPuma. Uh,
Great. People's names are coming with sound effects. That's
no,
great.
it's my Puma. You like that? Speaking of graded labels, because we just were, why oh why don't we have custom DC labels yet, CGC? Whoever does the licensing at DC and CGC needs to finally get the contracts laid out and get the DC labels that I, for one, would love to add to my collection. Yes, we need the special custom Dollman bondage label. Mark, DC licensing is in a bit of upheaval right now. I'm lots of changes at Warner Discovery. So this is something I'm sure has been attempted in the past, and for some reason they just won't approve it. You've got corporate overlords now that are very tight with IP. Yet Disney said, "Sure, go ahead, Marvel." I don't know. It's a great. There's whenever something this big is missing, there's usually a reason why.
Yeah, there must be something out of the picture. But I think that I really think the marketing of these companies are just they're not taking advantage of low hanging fruit. I mean, sure, maybe you're having trouble getting DC as a publishing company, but you do signature series, right? Why not have a signature series? They do it for some. I mean, they do you know, I can't remember who was it. Are they
We
pardon?
don't know. We don't know what the deal is with Marvel and CGC, because just from the music standpoint, somebody wants to license a song. Yeah, they got to pony up some dollars. You guys got to give us an advance, or a percentage in perpetuity of what this is going to be, or we won't let you use it in your little trailer for your little movie. I wonder if CGC got a good, paid Marvel and Disney a licensing fee, and DC just said, no, that's not enough. We need more money, and it's just a stalemate. It
Yeah.
all comes down to
That,
money.
that makes sense. But I'm talking about Peach Momoko. Why can't they have a Peach Momoko? There's no deal with Marvel or DC. It's directly with Peach.
Yeah, they've had
Uh,
Todd McFarlane labels. They've
yeah,
had,
they
yeah,
right, exactly. Why not have, Boss Logic or Zerdy? And there's a number of notable artists who I think you're doing a signature series cup, you're doing a yellow label for them anyway at these signings. Why not also be able to offer a custom label for that particular artist? It
that's a
just
good
seems to be it's not like it's a whole lot of setup work for them to do this. These labels are all digitally printed. They come off of a color laser printer, for goodness sake. I don't understand why it's hard to offer more choices than the ones that they do.
Richard with the Boss Logic reference. Look at you. All right, what is your last piece of your mail?
My last piece is from OJ Pimpson, 32.
Kudos on the name, OJ.
I love it. Um, CBCS new label is an unbelievable success if their goal was to inch closer to being a complete CGC knockoff brand. Imagine starting a business and just doing everything the industry leader is doing. Same color labels, same grading scale. You pretty much offer exactly the same product for the same price, only your service is slower and the resale value is lower. What do you think they offer the consumer that CGC doesn't? What's their differentiation? What reason are they giving the customer to leave CGC for them? Harder grading? CBCS is McDonald's. McDowell's. CGC is McDonald's. If you don't, the McDowell reference was from oh, what was that movie now? Oh,
Coming to America.
Coming to America. Thank you. CBCS literally has no reason to exist. Okay. Thank you for your comment. That's a little harsh.
I've
Um,
never known an OJ to go for the throat.
but he has some valid points here. It's they will forever be in the shadow of CBC or CGC as long as they ape what CGC does, because CGC does it first and does it at a bigger scale. They do some differentiation. For example, they do verified signatures where you don't actually have to be present for the signature for the person to sign the book. They will verify the signature and they'll give the book a label. And I've used that service, for example, when I've had J. Scott Campbell covers that were signed. I would get a green label if I took it into CGC, but I would get a yellow label for CBCS. So they do offer services like that. Their cases for a while were really good, and their turnaround time was faster than CGC. That has changed. CGC has hired more graders, so their turnaround times are back to a normal pace. But yeah, there really isn't. It's a hard value to. It's a hard sell to favor CBCS over CGC just because CGC does it first. I think there's a lot of opportunities. I think they're really missing out on being able to differentiate themselves. Um, OJ mentioned the grading scale. We've used the same 10-point grading scale forever. Well, it's an arbitrary scale set up by arbitrary people. Why can't we have a different scale, one to 100, for example, or a letter grade, or anything else that would differentiate from using the exact same scale? Now, I understand there's continuity and being able to compare two books from two different grading companies. That's great, but as long as you're using that as your scale, you're always going to be an also ran, or someone who follows the leader.
Do you and OJ know the history of CBCS?
And why don't you tell us?
Steve Borok created CBCS. He helped found CBCS. He also, before then, was at CGC and he helped create CGC.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve Borok leaves the company he helped create and launches a competitor that does the same exact thing. That's why it does the same exact thing. Now he's left CBCS at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Now I believe is at Comic Link now. But there's a reason why it's such a blatant clone, because the same guy did it.
Oh, I can understand the reason why he did it. If you're a brand new company with no history, you can have instant credibility by adopting what your competitors use. That's understandable. But it's
That's
been
why we need a disruptor. This is why we need someone new and different to do something new and different.
yes.
But on that, do you need to reinvent the wheel? Do you need to come up with a new grading system that's not numbers? Not really.
No, I'm just giving examples of ways that you can differentiate.
Yeah.
There are opportunities, I think, that CBCS can take advantage of. The problem with CGC now is it is a big ship that it's hard to turn the rudder. So a company that's more nimble and can adapt to digital media faster, a variety of things that CGC just will take a decade to be able to change. Um, you have the advantage of being able to be more nimble and make changes quicker and be able to adopt and absorb what the community wants at a faster pace. And I think there's we need that differentiator. We need that company to offer that kind of innovation. because eventually that innovation will filter down to CGC. It will make it there. But in the meantime, that company who can do that innovation will profit and move on to the next innovation. There are some, I think, great opportunities for CBCS or EGS. There are other grading companies out there that could use or could take advantage of that, being able to be more nimble and adaptive than CGC can be.
Let's go back to a time before slabs, before anagrams. I don't think anagrams existed. Talking about 25 years ago, the 25-year rule. You know what? I'm wrong.
Yeah, no anagrams. Wow.
REM was around. There were anagrams.
Yellow,
yes. We are in the 25-year rule. We're looking at 1998, 25 years ago in the comic book industry. Kind of a bad patch for comic books here.
Mm-hmm.
Really bad for Image at this point, because their shine from the early 90s had dulled. Here we have Hellshock, number 3, the third issue of Jay Lee's creator-owned comic from Image Comics. Issue 2 of this miniseries came out 11 months before. Nothing like leaving them wanting more. You really want to see the conclusion of this? You better sit there for 11 months, buddy. This was the second Hellshock series from Jay Lee after a 4-issue miniseries back in 1994. I just remember the hype around Jay Lee around his Namor run.
I don't remember this.
John Byrne was writing Namor, and Jay Lee came on, I think, with issue 25 or 24, and like he was just kind of Mike Mignola influenced. Lots of blacks, lots of ink on the page. Mm-hmm. He gained a little bit of that shine back a year from now with his work in the Inhumans Marvel Knights miniseries with Paul Jenkins that happened in 1998. Hellshock. I never read it. Do you read this?
No, I have no idea. I have never read. I didn't read much Image, to be honest with you.
Well, if you really want to read Hellshock, you can get full runs of both the miniseries on eBay for around $10. About $1 and some change a book. Any of you guys read Hellshock? That name sounds 90s to me.
Sure does.
Blood Hell. Shock Blood, Strike Force.
Oh, yeah.
Cyber Shock.
Well, there you go.
Hey, Cyber Shock. Hold on a second. Write that down. Hey, it's time for our underrated books of the week. Richard, please get me out of this 90s.
My pick this week is, I picked this solely for the cover. It's a shameless cover pick. It is Action Comics presents Doomsday Special #1, specifically the Zerdy Supergirl Tattoo exclusive copy. I have a picture here of that book.
Yeah,
I found
depressing.
Huh?
It's depressing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's Supergirl on the cover, and she's tatted up. She's got full sleeves on both arms. She's got tats off both legs, around her belly. She visited, and what fascinated me, the first thing I thought when I saw her with all these tattoos is, what kind of needle did they use to tattoo a Kryptonian? It had to be some super hard substance. It's just a gorgeous, Zerdy is known for his let's call them erotic comic book covers. This one's kind of tame. This is also one of those, we've got a Virgin and we've got a trade dress, which is a kiss of death to me. I usually don't buy them. But here, the Virgin copy is gorgeous. They did, for New York Comic Con, they did a foil. I mean, they're just going the whole gamut here. If you want the foil, that's great. To me, I just love the cover. Actually, Nathan Zerdy is coming to Akron next weekend. So I'm planning on buying a copy to see if I can get it signed. I need to see if they're doing, I don't think they're doing CGC is going to be there, but it'd be nice to be able to see if he would sign it for me. You can find copies of this on eBay right now for $30, $35. It's a new copy, our new book that's out. The foils go for about 40. I don't really see this spiking huge, but there's collectors for everything, and I know there's people out there who collect chewing, bubble gum bubbles. There's a whole people around that collect things around that. You got my friend Forrest who collects tennis covers. There's got to be people collecting tattoo covers. It doesn't happen very often. It's really interesting. I found this cover intriguing. I'm going to add a copy to my collection of the Virgin copy just because I think it's an interesting divergence from. And he also did. There's a Power Girl. Not a huge leap for this topic, but there's a Power Girl 3 cover. There's a Virgin trade dress and foil again of a Power Girl with tattoos up and down her body. So if you're into tattoos, it's your lucky day because Nathan Zerdy is serving them up.
Old man alert. Old man alert. Old man alert. Why is DC approving this? This is not on brand. This is, look at her. I mean, she's she's one face tattoo away from Post Malone.
Wow, John. I used to be in that same world. I think tattoos are more of a personal statement now.
I've got tattoos.
When we were growing up. Yeah, you do. But and you have great tattoos. But I think they mean different things for people.
I'm talking about branding. I'm talking about protecting a brand. What is Kal-El gonna say when she walks in the room?
So are you okay for Lobo getting tattoos? Because I'm pretty sure he is.
He's on. That's on brand.
Okay.
She's adopted. Let's not be a stereotype. But
no, yeah. DC does have, I don't want to call it a more wholesome. But again, tattoos are they're no big deal anymore. My daughter has a bunch of them.
Do we want Supergirl to be confused with Jenna Jameson? Is what I'm saying. By the way, that is a very dated reference.
It is. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow. For those of you under the age of 30,
Jenna Jameson.
Wikipedia and look up Jenna Jameson. Don't go to Google looking it up. Go to Wikipedia.
Just go to Google at work and type in Jenna Jameson.
Please don't. Please
let me know how that goes for you. Not for nothing. To take this back onto the rails, I think this is the first time we've had 2 DC books in the underrated books of the week.
Wow.
My underrated book of the week is DC Comics Presents number 97, Superman in the final chapter of the Phantom Zone Criminals. This was the last issue of the long-running DC Superman team-up title. This was canceled to make way for the big John Byrne reboot in 1986. Here he is again, twice in one show. Steve Gerber wrote this along with Rick Veitch on the art. Now, this was the same month as Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow by Alan Moore in Superman in Action Comics. And those get all the attention, but this book is very similar in tone. It's kind of like a final story. It's an imaginary tale where the Phantom Zone criminals get a bit of revenge thanks to a certain interdimensional imp who, I don't want to spoil it for you. I'm not going to say his name.
Please don't.
Forwards or backwards. Again, lots of similarities between this and the Alan Moore story. Comic Book Scavenger, this is an underrated book that I'm picking not because it's valuable, but because I want you to read it. I think this one gets forgotten a bit, and it shouldn't be. It is a great read. You can grab a copy easily on eBay for $1 to $4. It's worth it. It's worth more than $4 if you ask me. The last sale for a CGC 9.8 was in January of this year for $150. Richard, I know you've read the Alan Moore ones. Have you read this one?
Yes. I have not.
Out. The only way you can get forgiveness if you go get Tinkerballs right now and bring him on camera.
All right, hold on. Let me go grab him.
Bam! There he is.
Here's Stinky.
Yeah. He loves his daddy. Look at that.
He does. He doesn't mind laying on his back.
This is all of us on this podcast have raised this cat together. Listen to that kitty motor purr. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Make sure you like us on Facebook and Instagram for more cat pics. And make sure you like this, hit subscribe, and we will catch you next time.
Everybody stay safe.
Bye, Tinky.